to have a panel on Saturday with Jane, my wife, and several of our friends. And this will be sort of just my initial reaction to the episode. Overall, I was very pleased with how this went. I thought there was a lot of interesting things set up in this episode. Obviously, I was overjoyed to just have the character of Jean-Luc Picard back and to revisit the world of the Prime Star Trek universe, post Voyager, post Star Trek Nemesis, the last of the Star Trek Next Generation films. This picking up sort of definitely after those events. Well, they are after those events, but also after the events of the 2009 Star Trek movie, which had the crossover with Spock Prime and that universe, and all the events of the Romulan supernova. So no spoilers there. All of that is definitely playing into the plot of the show heavily. And more than that, I think that a lot of new, interesting characters have been introduced. A lot of strong acting, a lot of callbacks to the past, a lot of callbacks to certain characters and episodes of the Next Generation and other properties, which I think is a good move. I think that that the fans have been waiting for a continuation of the story, and by the story I mean the greater Star Trek universe, not just the story of Star Trek Picard. And so I'm very pleased with that and where this will go next, because it's very open-ended right now. I know that they're going to get to some form of a crew based on the trailers, or a ship that they're on. At least that's what I've been led to believe. But they haven't gotten there very quickly. They're taking their time here a bit. I don't think that's too much of a spoiler, but overall I'm pleased with the look of this show, the dialogue that's been written so far, the premises set up, the introduction of these new characters, and some other things. But I'm also very confused on a few things too. I'm not sure why certain plot points have been put in here, and I'm curious to see how that's going to be explained. I think that they are trying to put some real world problems of today, of the 21st century, into the 24th century. Maybe, I'm not quite sure yet, but I think that seems to be potentially where this is going. What else? So Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, excellent as always. I think he's 80 years old in real life, and from what my understanding of is what year where we're starting from in this series, we're saying that this is 10 years after the events of the Star Trek 2009, like the Chris Pine Spock crossover, and that I believe is in like the 2380s. So this is easily in the late 2390s, and Jean-Luc Picard is born in 2305. So this puts him as an older version than even Patrick Stewart is, which is fine, I think, with 24th century medicine. But I think that that's important to sort of look at. He's frailer than he was, the man we remember, even though he's very strong for a man of his age. So I think that that's going to be interesting to see how they play into that, because Picard was never the biggest action hero, although definitely I think First Contact in particular stands out as them trying to infuse him into that role and make him kind of more Kirk-like. So this seems like they're going to perhaps go back to a return to form where Picard is more of a diplomat, more of a investigator, detective with his Dixon Hill, and I think that there's definitely those elements in this first episode that he's kind of a detective, he's kind of piecing together a mystery, and I think that's very consistent with who we know Jean-Luc Picard to be. And that's about all I'm going to say today, because I think that there's just so much in this first episode. There's so much that's revealed. There's so much that we're picking up in the Star Trek Prime universe that we have to discuss, really, but can't in a non-spoiler version. I've been trying to avoid different reviews. Today there was a number of reviews that hit the internet. I assume because in the States, Star Trek Picard is on CBS All Access, and if you have that service, I would assume that it just dropped at 12 a.m. this morning. So here in Canada, it's broadcasted at a certain time. So we will be posting. I'll be posting like a non-spoiler reaction review after every episode. And then we'll be having more of an in-depth spoiler discussion following that, likely on Fridays or Saturdays moving forward, as we have like these 10 episodes of Star Trek Picard that we have for this first season. We know it's been picked up for a second season. That's very exciting. And I just hope that the rest of it keeps pace with what I've seen so far. But it's been a strong start out of the gate, and that's a really good thing. So I'm happy about that. And a lot of questionable things, but that's okay. I think that we'll get into that in our spoiler review of the first episode. Anyway, Dave Mader, this is Live Long and Podcast. Make sure to subscribe and review our reviews of these episodes. We're going to be live streaming on YouTube and Facebook after each episode, as mentioned, and with those longer, in-depth panels. Anyway, let us know what you thought in perhaps a non-spoiler way in the comments, and make sure to tune in on Saturday when we have our in-depth discussion. Anyway, that's it for now. Good night.